everything's happening. I'll say, look. Do we have to call roll if you see them on?
I just need to know who's here.
Yeah, we need to be able to.
They need to be recorded. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, can you,
I can do it, you can do it, or they can do it.
I'll let Phil do it.
we're gonna be up here?
Yeah, he's gonna go start it.
Okay, so.
Recording in progress.
Okay, everyone, the recording has started.
Are we ready?
Are you on line? Richard,
Yeah, I'm here. You hear me?
I hear you just fine. If you
I
wanna
can't see. Hold on. I'm having a problem.
Okay, I'll give you a second.
Well,
What's he seeing?
We
It's
see
not-
you.
We
It's
can
not-
see. What's your issue, Bill?
I can't. Just bear with me 1 second. I can't pull up the. I can't put, I can hear you.
But you can't see us, is that what you're
I
saying?
can't see you. Yeah.
Down in sort of the left-hand corner, do you have a? start?
Well, no, I've got I can see you. Huh.
Is there anything on the screen at all?
Well, I can get you at the bottom, but let me sign off and sign back on. Well, it won't let me. Shoot. Well, I'm gonna shut down real quick. I'm sorry, y'all.
We'll give you a second.
Just give me a second. I'm sorry. Something's not right.
Shannon. Can Jeff hear us?
I don't know.
He is supposed to be mine.
If he could come in here, it'd be great. I want to see it there. Let me see if I can share the document.
Hey, Jeff, if you're listening, could you, figure out a way so we could have the meeting up on the screen here in the boardroom as well?
Sorry, Secretary Ward called.
Okay. We just want to be able to see it there.
So can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, we can hear you.
I'm having problem with my screen. Sorry.
Is that everything you guys need? Well,
Mr. Kaufman's having trouble.
you can't see the screen.
Sorry.
Bill, our IT guys in the room, tell them what issues you're having.
It's not you guys, it's me.
Oh, yeah, but he may be able to help you figure out.
Well, okay, here we go. I got it. Got it.
Okay.
Perfect. Sorry, guys.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
No worries. Be right back in there to moderate that. All right, Bill, I guess we can go ahead and start with, roll call if you want.
Yes, sure. I'll start with myself, Bill Hewitt, Commissioner from Washington County. Tyler, you want to go?
Tyler Davis, Commissioner, Little River County.
Dan,
Dan Wright, Commissioner, Scott County.
Chris, Chris Kaufman. I see he's on, he's muted. Who else have I missed?
I'm sorry, Chris Kaufman, Commissioner, White County.
Marcus Creasy.
Is he on?
I believe I saw Commissioner Mallett, our new member. on
There you go. Bruce,
Yes,
sorry.
Bruce Mallett, Commissioner, Columbia County.
Perfect. So I think that's did I miss anybody?
Rand?
No, Tommy's not gonna be able to.
Okay.
Let's see, I see Wade on there. Caitlin Bennett. You want to introduce yourself, Caitlin?
Yes, sir. Caitlin Bennett, Arkansas Department of Agriculture.
Secretary Ward,
Yes, sir. Wes Ward. Glad to join y'all. Thank you.
Marvin,
Marvin Childers, Poultry Federation.
and Tommy Crenshaw. It looks like he's connecting, but not on yet. And who all's in the boardroom?
Hey, in the boardroom, there's Patrick Fisk and myself, Wade Hodge, counsel for the board, Caitlin Bennett and Linda Luck.
Perfect. Okay, so I guess this is we'll call this special meeting to order. And the purpose of this meeting is to go over the proposed rules for the poultry disease and flock condemnation rules. So we spent quite a bit of time going over this during our regularly scheduled meeting a couple of weeks ago. And I know that we went through a bunch of the majority of the document and got stuck towards the end. So Patrick, I'm going to hand it off to you, and if you want to kind of go back through it from the beginning, we can.
Yeah, there's just a few changes from the beginning, based off the conversations I've had with industry and others. And I'll just go through the changes. I sent those to the commissioners last week. Hopefully everyone has got a chance to look at those. The first one will be, of course, on page 1. It would be the very first definition of affected area. The reason why we changed the language on this is to help protect the grower producer of the affected area. USDA deems an area as a circumference or radius of 3, 10, and 20 kilometers. The affected area is going to be a 25-mile, but we removed radius mainly because if we're going to identify this area, it needs to be posted publicly. And if you draw a circle on the map, anyone from Google can shortly identify the location of the farm that's affected. So what we're going to do is identify that area by either land masses, highways, roads, and then that way we can have a little bit of allowance to go outside of that 25 miles if needed. For example, if anything east of highway or Interstate 49 and so on. And we can just address that area that way so that you know that you're in that area without further exposing anyone that's affected. So the definition will now read as affected area means an area determined by the Arkansas Department of Agriculture of approximately a mile surrounding a flock with confirmed case of highly pathogenic avian influenza. Now we can go through each one of these step by step, or I can go through all of them and then we can vote at the end.
I suggest we go page by page, not necessarily step by step, but also it'll give everybody an opportunity to make any suggested edits they might have by page.
I'll just
Hey,
ask,
Patrick. Dan Wright, I got a question. Can you hear me?
you can hear.
What was the reason for the 25-mile surrounding area? Why do we go with 25?
That was just an arbitrary number picked that could impact that area due to wild bird activity or positive wild bird activity in that area.
Okay.
It was to further restrict the USDA 10-kilometer surveillance zone. We just felt like it was safer to enlarge that area and make it a little bit more restrictive just because of the threat.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any other comments or suggestions on the definition or the change of definition?
Are you talking about one or any of the definitions?
One that would change, and we can open it up for any, but we've covered those already.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think you suggested page by page, so if anybody's got any questions about page one in general.
So I've reread this a little bit, and on number 6, pet birds means a bird kept or intended for sale as a companion birds. That probably needs to not include domestic poultry.
Just say not to include domestic poultry.
Yeah,
We'll change the period to a comma.
I think so.
Including domestic poultry. And you should be able to see the changes being made on the screen there.
That's correct.
Okay, any other comments on page one? Okay, move on to page 2. No changes there that we've made. Any changes or any comments from the commission?
And when we say no changes, we mean no changes from the last time you met. You can see all the changes from your previous rules that are struck through, and then the new language in red.
So I have a point of, or a suggested edit for poultry.
Okay. What's your
And
suggestion?
I guess it's a suggestion or a question. So when it comes to certain diseases like flu, some other species like quail and partridges can also be infected with flu. We talk about pheasants, but quail and partridge may be something to add. I don't know how inclusive you need to get, but
to include in all in-
Well, I mean, that's something you guys are gonna have to tell us, is that something that needs to be in your rules?
And that could potentially be a species of poultry. And if we're going to regulate all poultry, we need to make sure we get this as inclusive as possible. What do the other commissioners think?
So is our partridge raised commercially or for meat or feathers?
They can be, as
Can they?
can quail,
Okay.
chucker partridges, big quail industry in South Carolina.
Yeah, I don't see any problem in adding those.
Bill, you want to go and list each species you want to include in that, and we'll just add it in there?
So just add quail and partridges?
Well, or can you, this is Chris Kaufman, I'm sorry, or can you revert back to the word, to the definition bird and say any other bird raised commercially or domestically for meat, eggs, or feathers?
That's even better. my
Yeah,
opinion.
that would work. Yeah.
Okay, and so, I mean, if you do that in your definition of birds, then you're limiting birds to just those raised commercially or for meat or for feathers. Is that what you're wanting?
No, I'm saying leave it like it is, but then after, and take out the or pheasants and put a comma or say comma pheasants, comma, or other birds raised commercially or domestically for meat, eggs, and feathers.
Good, thank you.
That's a good one.
All right, you can see it on the screens that look like what we're talking about.
Looks great.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other questions on page 2? Not hearing any, we'll move to page 3. The only additional comments or changes since our last meeting due to industry comments would be the definition, or it would be the very top of the page where we talk about Newcastle and those diseases that referring back to page 2, using this section as reportable disease means, and these are the reportable diseases that we're mentioning. Newcastle was just laid out there just for all Newcastle. The concerns were from industry that this might include vaccinates or birds that are vaccinated, because they do actively vaccinate for Newcastle. So the suggestion was to add either exotic or virulent Newcastle disease.
I think that's good reasoning. I believe that probably the more modern term would be velogenic Newcastle.
Okay. Velogenic, VIRUL.
VELOGNIC.
The only, and then if we look at the very bottom of page 2, under 5B, or I'm sorry, 3B, very last line. I included as long as indemnity is available through USDA. The reason for that is all these other diseases, there are no indemnity available, and indemnity is really the driving force when it comes to, I guess, the driving policy behind depopulation. So if indemnity is not available, then we would have to revert back to the other sections where you can develop a plan, permanent quarantine. So I just wanted to make that a little bit clearer that as long as indemnity is available through USDA, we can depopulate those diseases.
So Patrick, I had a note on that one too. And you use depop is the only option as long as indemnity is available. However, in Oklahoma in the last couple of weeks, they allowed a producer, a non-poultry producer, to keep a line of peacocks on a farm that had been positive for HPAI. So they killed everything other than the peacocks. So there's a little discrepancy between that language and what USDA has allowed just as recently as the last couple of months.
Yeah, I do remember those cases. However, this would be specifically for the state of Arkansas. We could go further restrictive and be more restrictive than USDA, or we could follow policies.
Yeah. So yeah, but is that a state decision or was that a federal decision? Do you know?
That was a federal decision.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other discussion on page 3? Okay, moving on to page 4. At the very top of the page on number 6, where it talks about destruction, we do use depopulation. We don't really use the word destruction. So just to keep it common with the rhetoric and the jargon, I just suggested we just use depopulation. Under number 7, the last paragraph, USDA really doesn't approve or disapprove of those products. You're really FDA. And with the changing environment at USDA right now, with policies and procedures and guidances, just felt to be a little more helpful to use in compliance with USDA current policies and standards. And that way we can follow those standards without making any changes. That's all I had on page 4. Any other discussion on page 4? I had no further comments on page 5. Does the commission have any? Okay, moving on to 6, the same for number 6, no additional comments there.
I do have a comment on 6, and it's under 3A. And the last couple words, to the industry. I mean, I agree with that fully, but I just don't think that to the industry seems pretty one-sided and biased, although I fully agree with it. I think we should just say something to the effect, um, or any disease posing hazard, period. Or to, or posing hazard to birds.
And you're referring to industry as the commercial?
Yeah, that's how it sounds to me.
Yeah, I think we were kind of using industry as
Everybody.
everybody, but I see your point.
If you just put posing hazard to birds, the definition of a bird is everything.
All right, that change has been made. Any other comments? Okay, moving on to page 6. Under B in the middle of the page, on your copy, it should be highlighted in blue. It refers to number 1, birds showing any signs of illness will be quarantined back to the farm or place of origin. The concerns were, do we need to be moving birds that are showing any signs of illness across the state or back to the premise? And I somewhat agree with that. At the state fair, we established a quarantine area for cattle in case there's some cattle might be turned around. More specifically for someone that brings in 3 or 4 heads. Instead of all those cattle going back home, we would set up one area as a quarantine area. If we do something similar to that, and establish each fair, flea market, or any kind of place of sale, that they set up an area for quarantine for testing. Or do we want to just leave it as it is?
So does that mean if somebody brings a sick bird to a swap meet, that that it needs to be depopped there?
It doesn't say anything about depop. It just has, if there's any birds that's showing any kinds of illness, they have to take them back home.
Right. Yeah, but my question is that if you don't take them back home, you got to either take them somewhere else or kill them. Ideally, we wouldn't want them to move sick chickens, but in my mind, or sick animals, in my mind, they do need to be quarantined back to the place of origin.
Do you have any kind of language in mind?
I think what he's saying is
Just leave it as it is. Okay.
Yeah, I like the language in blue. Take them back to the farm or the place of origin.
I've got another question, a legal question on B, 5B. It says state veterinarian in consultation. Go up, I'm sorry. State veterinarian in consultation with the Arkansas Department of Agriculture, Livestock, and Poultry Division Director may quarantine, seize, and destroy any birds imported illegally into the state and birds exposed to an illegal bird. So if I am at a swap meet and I have all of my, I have everything done properly, legally, and somebody brings this bird to a stall next to me, and my birds are exposed to this illegal bird, do I just have to eat that if my birds that are there legally have to be quarantined, seized, or destroyed?
But I think you'd have two recourses. I don't know if there's any type of indemnification available. You'd be eligible for that. Secondly, your recourse would be against the individual or individuals who brought the birds to that location illegally.
And I will add that there is no state indemnity. And in a situation where you have birds that are commingled together in a situation like this, a USDA will not pay indemnity on that.
Yeah, so it sounds like your only recourse would be against the person who imported those birds.
Okay. That was just a question.
I think you've got division director in there twice too on that line 5B.
Thank you.
Okay, hey Jay.
Let me go back to that just a minute. This is Bruce. On the B in blue, did we decide that's good, or would there ever be a time that the Department of Ag, Livestock, Poultry Division might want something else? In that event, you could say be quarantined back to the farm, comma, place of origin, or as directed by the Department of Agriculture, Livestock, Poultry Division Director. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that. It's a question. Do we want that option, or are we good just as it is?
Bruce, I think that's a good point because, I mean, think about it at the state fair. You know, if they flew at the fair, you'd want them killed there, I would assume.
Yeah, that's a good catch.
It just gives us that flexibility.
Okay, so Caitlin, I think we're looking at saying be quarantined back to the farm, comma, place of origin, comma, or as directed by the Department of Agriculture.
Yes.
All right, good catch. Does that look good?
I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, AJ.
Great.
No real here, but just a question down toward the bottom in blue under 5B. It states if positive for salmonella, other than, of course, boil typhoid, hatchery will be resampled at least 30 days. If still positive, a letter will be written from the department notifying the company. After reading that and speaking with the industry a little bit, it's not uncommon for hatchery to have a positive for salmonella, the common variety. But the one that's bugging me is what is the letter about? There's no recourse after that. There's no resampling requirements. It's just kind of a hanging chat that's out there. So I mean, we retest them after 30 days and we send them a letter, and then that's it. Is that statement even needed there? Because the letter serves no purpose other than just notifying them they tested twice for salmonella.
I don't think it's needed.
So would the motion be just to strike all of 5B?
So you're saying if a hatchery has a positive salmonella, you send them a letter, tell them that they've got salmonella, which they already know that, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to hurt anything if it's not in there. I mean, kind of a non-issue.
I mean, they're gonna get the results anyway, right?
Yeah, they're gonna know. And all I could do is send another letter saying, tell them that they got salmonella, which is something they already know, so they're already gonna get that. So that's probably not needed. I agree with that.
There's some integrated companies that select even not even to have a monitoring program to begin with. And the only other thing would be to strengthen it and to specify what the recourse would be, cleaning, disinfectant. But in my opinion, I just don't think it.
Yeah, they already know that. Okay.
Good. Just a little editorial here. If we're not going to have a B, then we won't need an A. So that number 5 will just simply read, a PT positive hatchery will be quarantined immediately. And then as the rest of that, what is now A will remain the same. So right up there beside number 5, we'll mark out if positive 4.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there it is. And that's how it works.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions, comments on page 8? Moving to page 9. I think this is kind of where some of the confusion started coming in with the introduction of this language from our emergency rule. And there's a few things that we can do there under number 4. We just need some clarity from the commission on what we want to do here, what the purpose is. And that is in the case of AI threat, and it is going to be prohibited too. We want to make it statewide, or we want to only make it for those affected areas. I would suggest that if we want to make it statewide, then you leave the language as it is, or if you want to restrict it to that area, that 25-mile area, then you need to include within an affected area. As I've illustrated in number 1. It is prohibited to exhibit poultry and domestic waterfowl within the area, or the commission wants to do it statewide.
I would rather do it within the affected area. We've got a 25-mile area. Because like if we have an outbreak in Madison County, how do you somebody in Union County is all shut down. I mean, that's just, to me, that's overkill.
Well,
Let me ask, this is Bruce, let me ask a question on that. Take State Fair. If you have an outbreak in the corner of a state, can anybody within the affected area bring something to the State Fair or to any exhibit that's outside the affected area? But what if the animal itself is from within an affected area? You want to be clear, I think, on whether or not they could attend an exhibit, even if the exhibit was not within the affected area.
If you look at number 2, that's kind of the intent, is to shut down that area.
I see it. Okay.
But if the kids are in an affected area and they want to go to the state fair, they can do a PCR test and still go to the fair.
That's where A comes in.
Right. And we probably need to put within 5 days or something like that.
After paragraph 2, we could say within 5 days of show.
Yeah,
Put it after the test, but it's something else.
Okay.
How's that look? What we got it there? Does that do what you
Yeah.
thinking?
yeah.
Yeah,
Would you say exhibit instead of show or event? That way it'll cover all the flea markets and everything. Is that fine with everybody?
Me,
yes,
I'm good.
yes.
Okay, well, we need to add that language in under B if we want to look at restricting that area. That would be for the free range facilities. Do we want to make those statewide or just within the restricted area or affected area?
Where are you looking at, Patrick?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
B, okay,
B,
yeah,
very bottom, this is for.
free range and backyard poultry.
That's to
I
cover
think
all
that would be within the affected area also.
Need to add that at the end. Okay.
I'm sorry, where did you?
Okay, so all free range and backyard poultry.
Within
with-
the,
Any other comments or suggestions on page 9? All right, page 10 is where we ended up. I didn't have any comments. I was going to turn that section other than page 11 over to Bill to discuss spent foul. I think you had some language changes there.
did you say me? Patrick,
Yes, sir.
who did you say had some language?
You, well, I thought maybe you.
Oh, well, I think we got all boogered up with this last time. And this is for AI only.
That's correct.
And I think we got confused a little bit with the whole AI versus MS.
Okay. I can see that.
So I think we're covered with spent foul in you know, the movement of these birds from this area.
Wow. Now, this, again, this doesn't specify the affected area.
I get it. I understand.
Just making sure.
Should we specify this affected area?
I mean,
I
there's
don't-
two issues here. You know, it's very complicated if it's MS and MG. It's, in my mind, it's simple if it's AI. It needs to be just like anything else we've talked about for exhibition, for any sort of movement, period. If they're within an infected area, they got to do what we've said just previously. So again, I think that whole thing can be struck.
Okay, but if you look at on page number 4, it says a provision of this section. And this section refers to AI.
Right.
So what Bill, what are you saying that we can strike?
the whole thing.
But starting where? I'm sorry, G,
G, the whole thing, G.
all right?
Now, that's my opinion.
So tell me again why you would strike that.
Hey, Dan, can you hear us? You were kind of garbled there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tell me again why you would strike that language.
Because those are no different than any other bird that we talked about in A.
Okay.
Yeah, so they would be subject to the same provisions that all the other birds up in paragraph A too, and there's really no need to have special provisions for them.
Right. Now,
Okay.
where this could be beneficial is in another area where we talked about mycoplasmas or whatever, because those birds typically are, they have mycoplasmas endemic in those flocks. But this is specifically about AI, and I think that's what we got boogered up about at our last meeting.
Good. All
Yeah,
right.
I can go with that. Yeah.
So we're striking G1 and 2.
And we'll take care of the renumbering the paragraphs that will have to occur.
Okay, moving on to page 11. Just a couple of simple changes from the last time we met, under 3, that other number is all, the middle of the page, which starts with all vehicles used to transport eggs. There was a discussion sometime back with the poultry committee, we just probably was another version that we did strike. And that's the very last line of that, where it talks about upon in assurance of a decal for the offshore livestock poultry, we don't need a decal there, so we just strike that.
Period after restriction.
Yes.
Okay.
4 was stricken, and that's because it was mainly referring to the companies and personnel. My question is to the commission, do we want to keep something in there referring to biosecurity? Instead of narrowing it into a company, we would just say all persons who come from an area known to where or suspect of avian influenza. Striking country, foreign country, just to say that if anyone comes from an affected area, they need to be restricted, as in they can't show up in another place 3 days later, and they need to wash their clothes. I mean, we just want to leave that strict struck.
I can speak for my company. We already have that in place, but I don't know if other integrators, and I would imagine they do, you have a 72-hour rule or a 5-day rule, but I don't know about some of the companies or some of the entities that are have less resources than some of the larger integrators.
And again, this would be referring to backyard, anyone.
Right.
You might leave it in there just for the backyard folks and the free range, just for a reference.
So there does need to be some, a little bit of language change. That from all personnel all the way to, or having, needs to be struck and say, all persons who come from an area known to have or suspected of having avian influenza. And strike all that refers to, I want to the street and the company. And all clothing and headgear. Strike all that all the way down to must be washed and sanitized in such a way that an influenza virus will be inactivated.
Can you go through that again?
So let me see if I can say this. Any person, because it's not just personnel, it's any person who comes who came from an area known or suspected I would just say instead of quarantine, must practice proper biosecurity. And you can refer them to the company or to USDA biosecurity procedures. And you may actually put including quarantine, but
I think USDA specifies that in their guidelines.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So
as prescribed by the integrator or the company or USDA.
Then strike the remainder of the paragraph.
Yes, I think so. It's my opinion.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
all right, the only other thing I have is under J, just immediately after that. It starts talking about what may be allowed. We look at page 9 and we specified what's prohibited. But J now says that a sale, barter, exhibition, or giving away of poultry, blah, 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 may be allowed. So is that redundant? Is it necessary? Is it further explaining what can be shown?
I think it further explains what can happen at that time. And I said, I think this is something we need to leave in here.
I think you should also put in there the same verbiage about biosecurity by the company or USDA. Are followed.
And
Yes.
All right, that look good. Okay, because we didn't get to it last time, under L. All avian influenza vaccination of any kind, or any bird is prohibited unless authorized by the state veterinarian. And we wanted to include after consultation with the poultry industry.
So for the turkey breeders, H1 and H3, that's already being done.
And it's already approved, yeah.
This is Bruce. Let me ask this, and I know we have defined poultry industry, but what if you check with some but not all? Does that require you to talk to everybody that meets the definition of poultry industry?
What we typically do, Bruce, is we will meet with what's called a PAC, or Poultry Health Advisory Committee, and there's several subcommittees of that committee. And that is a pretty good representation of the industry as a whole. So anytime we have anything that's controversial, then we'll put that group together and make that suggestion or have that discussion with them.
I'm good.
That's a great point, because if you ask the broiler guys, they'll say never. If you ask the turkey guys, they'll say yes. And if you ask the layer guys, they'll say yes. So I think probably because avian influenza vaccine, particularly high path, which we're talking about here, is H5 and H7, that's going to have to be vetted and approved by the USDA. So we probably need to put in there
Well, that's
probably,
kind of
yeah, because this is for high path, right? Well, no, it's not specifically high path.
the whole discussion, the whole section is understood as being H5 or H7.
Okay, well, we need to say that then, because
Well, the introductory section says, this section may be implemented in the event of an outbreak of avian influenza which threatens production or sales of poultry and poultry products. So that's gonna have to be a department determination of what varieties, the way it's worded now, what varieties would constitute that kind of a threat. Unless you want to start naming specific.
but it also talks about what was it?
Would you not have the same concerns with low path do?
Well, what about low? I mean, what about H3
Low path, yeah.
or H8, H6? We've had those in the state.
So are we okay with the way it is?
Well, when we refer to reportable diseases, exotic diseases as listed by APHIS or World Organization of Animal Health. And it talks about exotic Newcastle or velogenic Newcastle, and it just says AI.
Right.
So let me ask this question, Patrick. If you have an H6 in some, I don't know what county, are you gonna stop kids from showing their animals at the fair if they're within a 25-mile radius of an H6?
Again, that would be something I would reach out to the industry and make a decision on what they want to do.
The determination would have to be made is that whether that threatens the production of sales of poultry and poultry products.
Yeah, Wade, what you're saying is right, but I mean, is that inferred, or do we need to mention that specifically in the document?
I'm not sure I'm following you, Bill.
What you're saying is that the provisions may be implemented in the event of an outbreak that threatens production or sales, but this is determined by the department. I think I'm paraphrasing what I think I heard you say.
That's correct.
But it doesn't specifically say as determined by the department. So do you need to say that, or is that inferred in this introductory sentence? Right there.
Yeah, it is inferred.
Okay.
I'm not really big on inferring things in a rule. You know, if it's a concern that you guys have, it may be better if we spell it out, because you have to look at it this way, is that if somebody violates a provision that we have in here, they're subject to a fine of $5,000 per violation from the Livestock and Poultry Commission. So that's why I think we need to be as clear as we possibly can in our rules. So it may be better that we put something in there, an outbreak which, in the determination of the department, threatens the production of sales of poultry and poultry products.
I mean, I agree. We're saying they're right, the same thing.
What do you think, Patrick?
I agree totally.
Okay.
And that covers it. That covers high path, low path. That covers non-H5, non-H7. That covers everything.
I'm good with that.
I like it.
I'm good.
All right, anything else on page 11? All right, page 12, we didn't get to it, but very simple language change. Again, just trying to keep everything equal when we refer to the 10K, 10-kilometer radius zone. That's the special language condition. That's all I have. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
So if everybody's good, I don't think there's any new business.
And Mr. Chairman, we will need a motion for us to move forward with this, and somebody would need to make a motion to adopt the changes as identified today, and also to repeal these 3 other rules, because I think most of you will remember what we're doing here is we're actually combining 3 existing rules, so people won't have to hop from one rule to the other to make sure that they're doing everything they're supposed to do. So we're combining 3 rules which will allow us to repeal each of those three individual rules and then just adopt this one as a new rule. So we will need a motion to that effect.
You know, I was about to say the exact same thing. So do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion
Is there a second? Do I hear a
that
second? I'm sorry, Dan.
Okay, I think
Tyler,
Dan-
I move that we drop those other three rules and adopt this rule as amended.
So there's a motion. What about a second?
Second. It's Tyler Davis.
Seconded by Tyler. What about any discussion? So if there's a motion, a second, no discussion, all in favor? Opposed, same sign. So the motion carries. And any other topics to discuss in new business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Well, this is Wade. I'm sorry. I hate to delay it, but I would.
No, good.
To Mr. Mallett. I believe this is his first meeting with us, and we really appreciated his input today and his willingness to serve on the commission. So welcome to him.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Motion,
So moved. Bruce.
second. All in favor? Aye, you guys have a great day. All right, we'll see y'all.
Thank you.